Welcome everyone to our after church tea time to speak about the service that we watched today. It was really beautiful for us to go through it since we had some experience with addiction. So yeah, but before that, I want to just welcome everyone here, Marlene and Joshua. Thank you for being here. Brian is here. Oh my God, what's up? Well, you're one. So yeah.
Adam, yes.
Adam and Lisi. So thank you all for being here. And yeah, who would like to go first and speak about the service? Even you.
Yeah, for me, this service spoke to my heart because one of the first things that I heard coming into Jeff and Shalia's teaching was my smoking addiction. So they talk really in depth about that, and yeah, basically everything I wanted to share about that, they already shared it in a very beautiful way about how to heal addiction and what addiction is. I really loved how they approach the subject, and I have some notes, and I think it would be really nice if we start discussing about what's the definition of addiction and what they shared there. And they said addiction is where you are dependent on something else to give you something else, right? And that something replaces God, because God is the source of all of your good. And that statement alone helps you, I think, in your healing journey with addiction a lot. Just realizing that piece. So yeah, do you have any thoughts about just this particular piece right now?
You can just start sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just didn't want to interrupt anyone. Yes, what Jeff and Shalia said is very true. With addiction, you're taking God and replacing it with something else. And the thing that you're replacing is the peace that God gives you in your heart and the joy that God gives you in your life. And you're sacrificing that for the addiction. And the addiction, it numbs the pain at first, or it distracts you from trauma, but ultimately in the end it causes more problems than solutions.
Yeah.
Very well said. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it was that piece, Jeff and Shalia shared a little bit later, that you think the addiction gives you what you want, and it might do that, but it also takes from you something much more important. So for example, with smoking was health, right? So just seeing what it takes from you and putting in balance, is it really worth it for me to have this addiction in my life, or I should just let it go and just go back to God, right? And of course, we know the answer here is going back to God, but it might take a while for you to fully be able to do this, and it's safe to go through the process that you need to, just taking one step at a time and having compassion with your healing process.
Mm-hmm. But do you want to share about your experience, exactly how it is? Because yes, you experienced the process, but you...
Yeah, so I was experiencing smoking addiction due to stress, basically, and this is what I was experiencing when I first started doing Flame Ascension School and learning about the mirror exercise. But I really asked myself why I was smoking, and I really had to go back to when I started smoking and what happened then. And it really helped me in the classes to see just students heal in general, and I was able to just go back and do that for myself, right? And I really had to take this inner journey of seeing why I was smoking. And of course I had stress. I had a stressful job. I had a stressful university situation. I was in my last year when I gave up smoking, so it was a lot coming up, right? Regarding to that, well, it was after, but I was in my last year, just fresh out of university. So I had to really go why I was doing it, what I was replacing here, what my heart was seeking actually. And for me personally, it was human connection, which sounds weird. It was just like social interaction with people, because I was like a socially awkward kid and I didn't know how to make friends, basically, right? And I did this through, at some point in high school, I started doing this through getting with the popular people that went smoking and did all of these edgy things, right? And I became part of their group by, you know, adhering to their social norm of like smoking, basically, and engaging into not pleasant activities, let's say, and not healthy activities, better said, right? So, and this carried out throughout my you know, university life. But of course, as I was seeing like a lot of my relationship, even my relationship with my parents, were heavily based on this addiction, right? I was relating to them through this addiction. We would go out for a smoke, right? We would interact in this way. It was like a whole social, you know, gathering made for smoking, right? If you had been like, and this is how it happens usually with people that have addictions, they are in a social circle when they're doing this, right? And this was for me like the heaviest thing to see and heal and acknowledge within myself, that this is what I was actually lacking. And I had to give myself that connection with God there, and seeing that I can have friendships outside of smoking, basically. And actually, this was probably the first thing that I healed as I came into the community. So I see how now I have beautiful relationship with all of you here present in this life, right? Which is not based on smoking, right? So I think
Yes.
so I'm proud to look at myself like 2 years later and I see that. That's my personal story here.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Like this whole sermon like made me think back to like my childhood and how like I kind of used like TV as my addiction to like comfort me, because I didn't really feel like I had that connection with like others, like my parents, and it's making me emotional for sure right now, because like it's like, oh, that's why this happened. Yeah.
So I guess.
To let it go.
Sorry. Yeah, I guess I can relate the whole smoking cigarettes thing and what Marley said about even TV can be an addiction. Anything really can be an addiction. It doesn't have to be substances. It can be other things as well. And for me, the reason I got into addiction with cigarettes and pills and alcohol and narcotics is because I was trying to fill an endless void in my heart. And the only thing that can fill that void is God's light, God's love, God's peace. And like Jeff and Shalia said, I was searching for something outside of myself and I could never find it. So, I kind of had a similar experience with in high school. That's why I started smoking cigarettes. I wanted to be accepted by my peers and look cool and, like rough and tough. And as I got older, it started with cigarettes, and then I got into pills, and the further I got into my addiction, the worse my health got, and the worse my mental state got. So both my physical health and my mental health started to decline, and just recently, I've actually quit doing narcotics. I was addicted to heroin for about 5, almost 6 years, and yesterday was actually I set a quit date, which was yesterday, the 4th of July. So, as they say in AA or NA, which means Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, is take it one day at a time, you know, because that's all you can do. And then they do the serenity prayer, you know, where they say, God, please grant me the ability to accept the things that I cannot change and the strength to change the things that I can, and to know the difference and to have the wisdom to do so. And that's basically the thing that got me to quit heroin, was that I realized that it was either I quit or I die. Addictions can be very serious, and they're not something to play with. And I just want people to realize, you know, whoever's listening to this, that you're not alone. There is hope, and you can overcome this. But the only way you're going to overcome this is if you make the choice, and the choice is choose peace. You know, choose God. And that's what I had to do. And it was very hard. It took me a long time. And I still, you know, struggle with smoking cigarettes and my addictions, but I'm overcoming them. And that's because I made the choice to choose peace. So thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and thank you for being so vulnerable. And I'm sure that as you go through your journey, you are going to be able to succeed in this healing, as long as you keep making that choice to heal and keep choosing God here.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's really important, because you realize that, you know, what the addiction was giving you was not worth it, right? Because it was taking your whole life, basically. Right? And you didn't want that anymore.
It's time to be addicted to God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love when Shalia said that.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Maybe like interacting with some comments. Did someone said anything?
Yes, people
Any
just
questions?
relate with what we have to share, and people are grateful for us being vulnerable and talking about this. It's really important, and yeah, especially you, Joshua, are a really great inspiration for us all, so we can, all of us, go through our own addictions and heal and choose God there and choose peace and choose to heal.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to share. And sorry if I went in, I was trying not to go into too much detail, you know, of
Perfect.
addiction. So yeah, I hope I didn't overdo it.
It's perfect. And I think like what you shared about, like that void that you're trying to feel with something, and realizing that only God can go there and feel, is really, really important. And I experienced this also in my teenage years, but I experienced it with music. I was constantly listening to very hard metal rock music to try to fill me up with something, right? I was searching for something in music, you know, that I could. Of course, I was listening to probably the wrong type of music for that, but my rebel self. But I can relate to that, you know, void feeling, right? I was feeling that as well at some point in my life. And yeah, we're all healing through our own voids and just coming back to God there. And it's safe to look at those places, right? And Jeff and Shania said it can be, you know, as hard and challenging as very hard drugs, you know, but it can be as subtle as like a habit or a relationship, something that you don't normally think it's an addiction, but it is, because at the core it takes you away from God, right?
I'd like to speak.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to ask.
It's okay.
Do you want me to ask my question, or do you want to go? Let's see.
Yeah, I was going to speak to relationships, but you go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to ask them, can I just say the question until after you're done, Lisa?
Of course, yeah.
Go. Yeah, I'll just say my question.
Sure, okay.
Sure.
So, I just wanted to speak about relationships. So, before I found Jeff and Shlea's work, I was involved in a couple of 12-step groups. One of them was Al-Anon, which is for people who are in relationships with people who abuse substances, who have addiction to substances. Because if you're in a relationship with someone who's addicted to a substance, you also have the addiction on your end with codependency. And Codependence Anonymous is the same thing, but it's really governed by, the thing that Jeff and Shalea were talking about, like being addicted to relationships, is what Codependence Anonymous is about. And they follow the same principles in 12 steps as Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. But what I experienced was I wasn't healing through those modalities. I was one of the principles that is accepted in those groups is that you'll always be an addict. But when I learned the mirror exercise that Jeff and Shalea teach, I was able to finally give myself what I needed in that place where there was a void, where I was reaching outside of myself. And I did it again and again. And I also went through MAP to go deep into the trauma that was causing this addiction to relationships or to other people. And that really profoundly healed me of this pattern. And I continued to make the new choice to choose my healing in those places whenever the old choice presents itself. And I just, wanted to say, this is just what Jeff and Shalea said. There's better comfort that God can give you than anything outside of you. And learning to do that was like the biggest blessing of my life. And it really did, it did come down to, I had to find a way, just like you said, Joshua, I was going to metaphorically die if I didn't heal myself. And I knew that something was out there that could do it. And this is the work. And I'm just so grateful. And I'm grateful that we're all sharing together. But yeah, so there is a way, and it's God.
Yep.
So the question I had was, first of all, Lisa, I want to say something. It depends on which Alcoholic Anonymous or anonymous group you go to, because most of the groups I went to never said that you will always be an addict. They said you will always be a recovering addict. Mm-hmm. So, we need to take that into mind. If someone has the mind state of they're always an addict, and they're always going to tell themselves, oh, I'm an addict. But if you tell yourself you're a recovering addict, then there's a difference. Even, and the question I had was, what is it that do you think that causes us to, what is it that separates us from God with the use of substances or addictions? What is it about the addiction that do you think that causes that separation from God?
That's a really interesting
Deep question.
Yeah, deep question.
I think first of all is the separation that causes the addiction, not addiction causes separation, right?
But we can't be separate from God.
That's true.
Yeah.
The illusion of separation is there.
Exactly.
But there is no separation. And
yes.
That's all. There is no separation.
Yeah, the only thing that happened from the teaching of Jeff and Shalea is that you made a choice at some point to try out how it is to be without God. You didn't like it, you make a new choice and you're again with God. But is this free will that God gave us to choose whatever we want? but we chose to experience separation. Therefore, there it comes all of these blocks that we experience in addiction.
Yeah.
But when we realize, hey, like I made that choice, I can change it now, and that's why you need to have compassion for yourself. You did your best at that point. That's all that you need.
Yeah.
You knew. Like,
It's I think like it all stems from like this, definitely I like what it gives me, but not what it takes from me, and admitting that we're not stupid, right? And we at some point liked what the addiction gave to us. I liked when I smoked because I could go out with people and have fun and I laugh with them, right? That was what I got from my smoking, right? And the relaxation and everything that Jeff shared also as well about smoking. So we're not stupid. We know we're getting something good from that, right? But it's realizing that it's taking from us, and what's taking from us is much more valuable than what it gives to us. And just returning to that space where we are with God, right? And I think like this is what we are not aware of, at the beginning when we start making an addiction, is that we have a better choice. But as soon as we find a better choice, it's safe for us to go through the process to fully integrate that better choice.
Okay, that's a serious thing. And what I meant to say was not really a separation from God, but a disconnection. Because, in my mind, I don't see like a separation from God, but except for my own choice. If I choose to turn my back on my relationship with God, then yeah, that's where that separation comes from. And yeah, none of us are dumb, and we're all smart, and we all have our reasons for doing what we do. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Because like here, there's no real separation. As you say, there's only, you have the experience of separation, but when you see in it, like there was never like that, not there, like there was only you and God always connected.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Good. Any comments?
Yeah, Charlie also shared that he managed to recover from addiction, so he healed his addiction. Yes. Not.
And maybe you can share a bit more about what he said, or.
There's not any questions until now.
Okay, so just letting all of you know, if you have any questions, please let us know.
In the comments.
In the comments, and just know if you want us to just bring something up so we can discuss as well.
Yeah, I think like we can go deeper to this addiction to relationships and people in our lives, and
maybe Adam will be the best to speak about this.
Well, yeah, what I was thinking, I love all these shares, by the way. It's really good. What came to mind for me was like I always had like different addictions, like from growing up, like what Marley said, TV, and then it was food, and it's all shifted in a way. And like after my son was born, when he went away for a week, and I was not wanting to sit with myself, so I was like really like I needed friends to go out with, find someone to do something with. So I was very like codependent in that way, kind of like really just hanging on to anyone that wanted to like take my mind off anything, like not wanting to feel myself. And and that also went into my relationship with my mother as well. Been very codependent. So it was like always this, I'm breaking free from that. And that never happened for me until, knowing the mirror exercise and knowing like it's safe to feel my feelings, and that my choice is powerful, and that I don't need people to be happy or feel safe, or anyone to speak for me, or be in control of me for me to function, or so just knowing that that I only need God and love. It's really helped me heal relationship, addictions in that way. So
Yeah, and it's a really good point that you bring up here, that we can become in a way addicted to our biological family
Mhm.
if we make them our source in that way, and we are not taught how to become like independent, you know, and look for our own self.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. So, yeah, it's definitely a learning experience. It's been a steep learning curve coming into TPAS 2 years ago, and learning the mirror exercise and like healing those relationships and knowing that it's me and God, right? So, yeah, I can do that. You can do it. Yeah, it feels really good feeling free from that. Yeah. So. Mhm.
Nice. And I don't know why what you shared really brought me to like thinking about the other point that they made with addiction to poverty.
Mhm.
Kind of like if the family is addicted to poverty, like your biological family, and you're addicted to them, you're kind of addicted to poverty, you know, in that sense. And I can see now in my childhood how my parents, you know, like were addicted to poverty. And I mean, my father would see him like he would, everything would be okay, and then at some point, because of this addiction, he will feel stressful, and then he will do something to mess it all up, and just he will lose a lot by that, and then he will have relief in the poverty. And I was like, that doesn't feel good. But I realized that kind of like not taking that and not accepting that, even if it's biological family, like I don't have to go through that. I don't have to take their, to believe that their addiction is my addiction, kind of like taking it on and trying it out. It's not actually pleasant.
Yeah, and I really love what Jeff and Shalia shared here about how, you know, you earn your money and you spend it into addiction. It's because you don't feel a sense of purpose in those money. So actually it's a life purpose block that's you might be going through in this situation, which is really, I found that insight to be really powerful. And all of the people that struggle in this way, and even maybe financially, just look at that aspect, at your life purpose. You know, maybe you don't even want to earn money, right? Because you you have to give up something that this poverty, you believe the poverty gives you, right? It was like the victim mentality, or, you know, help me here. I know that it was like the victim pitying, you know,
Mhm.
people feeling bad about you and receiving kind of these benefits
Yeah,
from
attention,
being
all
poor.
stuff.
Yeah, attention. Yeah, and we have like about this, we have a question from Pooja. I hope I said your name correctly. How can we end codependency, especially if you're not financially independent yet?
So who would like to answer to that?
I will.
Okay.
So you're always dependent on God. And codependency is just another way to say that you're replacing God with something that appears in your external reality. It's really just orienting your heart to God. And let's say that you're still living with your family and you're receiving material benefits from your family. This is not coming from your mom and dad in its source. It's coming from God through them now. And it's just really choosing to receive from God and taking the next step with God. You might, though, notice that as you do the inner work that Jeff and Shalia teach, that certain gifts, certain people that may be in your family that are giving you money, you might notice that maybe there's like a string attached, like um, someone's giving you money and then you have to do something for them, or you have to perform or be a certain way with them. I never experienced that in my family, but I think maybe other people here may have. And so maybe they would want to talk to that. But um, do know that only God is your source, and God will reveal the next step and how to put a boundary and how to be dependent on God and let Him show you the way.
Actually, like we experience this with our family, and it's always kind of like saying no to that, codependent relationship, and saying no to that interaction because it doesn't feel good, because it doesn't come from unconditional love. And you can feel when somebody is unconditionally loving you or they have second intentions there. And I feel like I can give an example of, we were asked to come over, right? Hey, I have a gift for you. I just received these things and I want to share some of it with you, right? That was the thing. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds nice. You want to give me something, you want to give me a present, let's go, right? And we would go there, and then the gift exchange would happen. But then it was like, oh, can you do this, by the way, on the way out, can you do this for me? Or can you, hey, I need your help with this thing or this thing or this thing. And it became from just meeting with the purpose of you apparently unconditionally offering something to me, to just, I'm giving you this, but here's all of these things I want to take from you also, right? And it can look in different ways, and you have to see which one of those things you feel good to do and what you do not feel good to do, because you will be guilted into, yeah, but I gave you this gift now, and can't you do at least this little thing for me or something like this? And it's like, stop, please. And so that's maybe like one example of how that interaction can go in this way, and just say no to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This whole thing made me like think about Carmel's story throughout TFAS with like her parents, and they would always invite her to like kind of like deny this part of herself in order to like be supported, but that never felt good. That would never really support her truly. And she found true support and through God and this work. It's really inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Sydney also shared something really nice here. Like Jeff and Shelia said, the first thing is recognizing that something is unhealthy. Just recognize it's unhealthy, right? Then realizing that there has to be a more healthy way. For me, it has always been the third part that they mentioned, not judging ourselves. How do you get past that self-judgment on a consistent basis? God is the center of my life. I love God, but still struggle. Yeah, you just have to have compassion, and practice that compassion deeper and deeper.
Every day.
Every day.
Compassion is not just one day thing. Like you keep giving yourself compassion there. And
yeah.
Love.
It's like a choice. Like when you catch yourself like beating yourself up or judging yourself, you like have to like notice it and take your power back away from it, because it's just like kind of feeding into the loop. Like ego just wants to pull you back into the loop over and over and over again and stay in it, but it's not powerful at all. You can just choose to take your power back from that self-hatred and that judgment you're feeling.
Also, having compassion for yourself, try to have an eternal perspective on things. I know that sounds weird, but when you're beating yourself up, that basically is saying that, okay, well, you're saying I suck and I'm tired of the way life is. What am I doing wrong? You're perfect as you are. And if you have an eternal perspective on things, God forgives everything. Just like Jeff said in one of his sermons, what did he say? That God never saw the sin or the burden in the first place. God's not beating you up, so why are you beating yourself?
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Amen.
Yes, amen to that.
So make a new choice to have compassion with yourself. And realize that you are not this thing that you believe you are. I'm not this failure, and I'm not this person that cannot overcome this obstacle in my life, right? Like as Jeff and Shlia shared in the end, it was like just they are sharing who they are, so we can see that we are like that as well. We are no different from them. We are as powerful as Jeff and Shlia, and we have to just step into that realization. And whenever we are invited to see ourselves less than that, like less than divine, just say no to that and accept your true nature here, which is divinity.
Yeah, I choose to see myself as God sees me.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good thing to, yeah, good mantra. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. And what they said as well about this, about their good is their good and you have your good. So you don't need to aspire to have what they have. You will have more cool shit, but for you.
Yeah.
They have their cool shit for them. So everyone will have their stuff. Like everyone will have what they will desire for themselves if they choose what Adam invited us to choose here. So yeah, I really enjoy that because this way it's like no competition between anyone having something in their life. It's always going to be exactly what you need, and you're always going to find the perfect things for you. I don't know how to say it in better words, but that's the best way I can say it right now. So.
Perfect. I wanted to talk a little bit about something that Jason and Chrissy shared, and then Jeff and Shalia also shared it, about the two different ways people get addicted. One is through like gradual. I think you talked about that, Alexandra. And the other is through trying to heal trauma. And I know I was talking about this earlier, but I didn't realize why I had these patterns until I went through the mind alignment process and understood that like I had been through trauma as a child, and that from that one incident, it had an effect on. I was continuing to make the choices from that incident in the rest of my life and try to resolve them through getting something in a relationship. And I just wanted to really say that, hey, you know, nothing is wrong with you. You're perfect. And if you experienced a trauma earlier in your life, that could be actually the root, rather than looking at yourself as imperfect or needing, you know, you're not okay and you have to heal. And I just wanted to say how powerful that healing was for me. Like I experienced so much peace and calmness after that. I would one of my symptoms was feeling afraid of being scolded or abused, and so I would placate that by trying to be good, to not get scolded or abused, and that's like kind of a dependence on the external, you know, to keep me safe. But through healing with MAP, I was able to feel my safety inside, and it really profoundly affected me. And I just wanted to share about it again, just in case those of you listening who you know, may not even know that you had trauma as a child or as a teenager, but you have these patterns. And another thing I wanted to say is, especially if you're aware that you're on a twin flame journey, which everyone is, a lot of what happens when this experience of a runner chaser dynamic comes into play is you're experiencing love not being with you, and that, you know, that's when you're looking towards your twin flame as your source. And so, you know, all of us, Melody Beattie, I don't know if you know who she is. She wrote a really good book called Codependent No More. But she does say that, you know, everyone has some form of addiction. So I think, you know, if you're here and you're like, well, I don't have addiction to anything, well, any place where you're replacing God is kind of an addiction. And everybody can benefit from the mirror exercise in this work.
Thank you for sharing that. And
Mhm.
I know I was seeing on Molly's face a smile, and all I could think about is, yes, we all have addiction to God. That's what I read from your face. I don't know if
Let's
that's
all be addicted to God.
yes. I don't know if that's what you were thinking or not, but that's what I got from it.
I wasn't really thinking that, but yeah, like it's true. Like, I definitely agree with what Lacey was saying. Like, we're like the core of like every addiction, whether it's like TV or cigarettes or whatever. It's just an addiction to ego and to abuse and everything that's not God. And then like now, like what you brought back to us is like, yeah, like we can shift all that to being just addicted to God.
Beautiful.
Oh my God.
Well, we have some smiles here. It's good.
Mhm.
Happiness on the screen.
Good.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and I just wanted to give another shout out to Mind Alignment Process as well, because we also went through it, and I know like the hardest step for me into going through the Mind Alignment process was accepting that I had trauma, because apparently I was having like such a normal life. You know, I had like a very normal, you know, day-to-day life. Like my childhood was okay, everything in my life seemed okay, but still I had like these patterns that, as DC said, and you know, the even like what Jeff and Julia said, I had to admit that it wasn't healthy and something was causing it, and it was trauma, and that was like the hardest step for me. And as soon as I was able to do that, I was able to just go through the Mind Alignment process and heal and experience that peace at the other side. So shout out again.
Yep. Because at the beginning she was like I went through MAP first, and then she was like, oh no, like I don't have trauma. I don't know what you're saying about. Like I don't have any issue here. But actually, like as we healed with me, we were able to see as well with her what was a deeper issue. So there's always something that's going to come up, and it's safe to just humble yourself when you recognize that, hey, maybe I have trauma here.
Yeah.
It's safe to humble and say like, okay, consider MAP and go through it, because it's really going to change your life.
I'd like to share my experience with MAP. Like, I feel like I was kind of like addicted to anxiety and like addicted to like, I don't know, just like I just was constantly anxious about everything, like just like the fear of like being like hurt or like attacked. And like by going through MAP, I am so like I really like it changed my whole life basically, and I'm like way less anxious than I was before. And yeah, like it really like I feel like anxiety was like a type, like a kind of numbing out. It's numbing out to like the sadness and like the pain that was underneath that. And by going through MAP, like we went to the core of that and like let it go. Like Jeff and Shaleia talk about in the sermon, like you have to go to the core of it. You have to really face it, and that's when you can heal it. And yeah.
You know what they say, when you do the healing, you're also helping to clear that with your twin as well. So, yeah.
Hey.
Yep.
Oh,
It's really true, and we experienced this like when I went through MAP. The first week I was good, like they say like, okay, it comes upheaval after MAP. I didn't have any issues, but Alexandra was freaking out.
It can be interesting going through MAP with your twin flame, and you're definitely healing together even there.
Yeah.
Good.
And there is a question or something.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring something that Granville brought up. So he said, like, for me, it was almost an addiction to helping, which always made me feel like I was being taken for granted and feeling obligated. In healing that, it feels good to say no, that bothers me, and not feeling responsible for other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really love that comment. And yeah, you're taking from yourself, right? This is kind of what's happening here, like you're taking from yourself by feeling obligated to do something that's you don't want to do, right? And sometimes the addiction can give you this powerlessness feeling, right? But it's important to heal around being powerful, right? And taking your power back and seeing that you have a choice.
Yeah, I want to say this is what I love about the teachings. You know, definitely as teachers, you can take your power back, right? And you can choose. You have a choice in every situation, and your choice is powerful. Just like knowing that, it's just, you know, powerful in itself, right? It's like the magic tool here, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed my life in so many ways. So yeah, I just wanted to say that it's like so important, and what they said about nobody can create in your reality but you as well. Knowing that as well, key part. Yeah. So it's a little bit of responsibility of your own life as well. So if you want to change something, you have to do some things. Yeah. So maybe some action steps. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That kind of reminds me, like, so what Jeff and Shalia were saying, what you mentioned is that our inner reality is reflected in our outer reality. So with, you know, with our addictions and stuff, those like toxic feelings we have towards ourselves, or if we're hating ourselves or whatever, that is expressed in our outer reality. Like when people take advantage of you and they walk all over you, that is a reflection of what's going on inside yourself. You're really just walking all over yourself, taking advantage of yourself, because if you don't have the power to say no, then you're just taking advantage of yourself. And I like that comment that was given about that, you know, saying no to our addictions. Hey, Miko.
Sorry.
Anyway, yeah, Miko wanted to say hi too.
Oh.
We love the comfort of a pet, you know, helping helping through the emotional process here.
She's a great healer.
She is.
Thank
Highly
you for
recommend healing journey.
Oh no, not the butt on the camera.
Oh, Miko, you're exposing yourself.
It's all part of having compassion with yourself and being gentle with yourself. I think Miko just came in to remember us about being gentle and compassionate with yourself as you heal through these challenges, no matter how hard or easy they appear to be. Remember, don't judge yourself.
Amen.
Good. And I heard the Miko bells. I bet those.
Miko approves. Good.
Anyone else has anything to say?
I just wanted to reiterate like how important unconditional love is. And that comes from God. So, you know, you can just, like Jeff and Shalia say, like, you make the choice and you just take the next step with God and let God love you. And from that place, that's where you can love yourself. If your twin flame has any codependence, like what, you know, that's the same thing as what you have. Like, you just love yourself, love them unconditionally, like God loves you. Just like what Adam was saying, you know, choosing to love yourself as God loves you.
Thank you. Very nice. Anyone else wants to share something?
Any
Yeah.
more questions?
Yeah, if you have any more questions, we're approaching the end. So if you have any more questions, please, now is the time to drop them in the comments.
Yeah.
Until then, I feel like it would be good to like reiterate like the steps that Jeff and Shelia gave in the sermon about how to heal through the addiction. It's like, first of all, realizing that it's unhealthy for you, right? And that you like what it gives you, but it takes you something much more valuable from you. It's important to realize that step. The second part is like realizing that there must be a healthier way for you to receive what you actually desire from the addiction, and then taking it step by step into replacing that and healing that into your life, and find something to replace it with. Again, we are not stupid. We like what addiction gives us, so we must find it in a better and healthier way for us in order to fully heal this addiction.
Yeah. Asking yourself why.
Yeah,
That's a very important step.
exactly.
Good. No more questions?
Till now, not until now.
Okay. So I feel like maybe someone else wants to say something here. And if no one else will gonna ask any question, we will end it soon. So would like to share. No, Adam, do you have anything else to share?
Yes, please do. And
Well, I just from what we've been sharing here as well, and I think everyone once experiences that you have a choice and your choice is powerful and you can change your life. Like you have the power to do that with God.
Amen. Well, we don't have any more questions. You guys feel anything else, or that's it? You feel done, complete?
I just feel like this like really like awakened so much healing for like everyone.
Mm.
It's really like I'm really grateful that like Jeff and Shalia went into this topic. Yeah, it's really like helpful for everyone, no matter what kind of addiction in your life. Like it could be like more serious or less. So it's still like this is really good for all of us to look at.
exactly. And I think like all addictions can be serious, but it depends like how deep you are into the addiction, like how much you allow it to take from you, right? Because even, you know, as you said, like watching TV can be quite a serious addiction if you don't live your life and all that you do is sit on the couch and watch TV all day, right? And you might not see like how unhealthy that can be for you, but again, it's just each and every person has to look at every situation in their life and ask themselves, is this healthy for me right now? And why am I doing this, right? And going through the process that Jeff and Shalia have shared in the sermon, so you can heal through it. And of course, take advantage of all the tools and support that Jeff and Shalia have created, so it's easier for you, like Mind Alignment Process or an Ascension Coach, right? Or NTFAS and LPC, of course.
Twin Flame Ascension School and Life Purpose Class.
Yes.
May I say one more thing? I
Yes.
just want to say also, don't beat yourself up. You know, if you don't get it like first time, you know, I've relapsed many times, and you don't have to beat yourself up. Like Jeff and Shalia and everyone here is saying, have compassion for yourself, love yourself, and like Jeff said, take it step by step. You know, a little bit at a time. You don't have to do it all at once. You know, just relax and be at peace with yourself, and it's okay. You know, so just love yourself.
The mustard seed will take you through.
Amen.
Oh.
Well, on that note, I feel like you ended this live discussion perfectly. Thank you, Marley and Joshua. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Lizzie. And yeah, we will see each other next Sunday.
I mean, whoever is going to be in the
Yeah.
discussion.
Well, we'll see each other. We're going to be there in the comments.
Okay, so thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful rest of your Sunday.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.